All right, let's get one thing clear. First and foremost, I hate making Xbox sucks style videos, but god damn it, Xbox just keeps messing up. They keep doing things that just don't feel right. As someone who's been a fan of Xbox in the past, and as someone who's consistently rooting from Xbox, hoping they get their shit together so I can invest back in the ecosystem, they do things that continue to drive me further and further away, that make me like lose hope in the brand of Xbox for the long foreseeable future. All right, what am I talking about? What are we getting at? If you guys don't know already, Forza Motorsport is one of their biggest games coming out this year. It's one of the things that, as an Xbox fan, you know, Microsoft, Xbox, they know how to do Forza. At the bare minimum, that's their freaking game. But it looks like Forza Motorsports is going to be releasing without quote unquote legacy features. Things like split screen. And yeah, some of us are like, yeah, those modes aren't necessarily necessary to have them in the game, I guess. But it's the fact that time after time after time, all these games release feature incomplete. And we see it with Halo, we see it with Redfall, we see it with Starfield, we see it with all these games that are releasing, and they're missing something. They're missing a feature, they're missing a little bit of polish. They have to be completed at a later date. We see this becoming a bigger issue as time goes on. And this new information of Forza Motorsport releasing without legacy features is coming off the heel of the fact that Baldur's Gate 3 is struggling to get on the Xbox like ecosystem because of this parity clause, with the fact that they can't get it running with Xbox Series S. And this is starting to become, again, a problem with the third-party developers saying that they can't make games the way they want to on Xbox because of the Xbox Series S holding back the Xbox Series X. Again, this is a whole debate, and that's not even really the like crux of this conversation per se. My biggest issue with Xbox right now is the wording that they like to use, some of their like fancy finesse that they like to try to throw out there. And when I say they, I'm specifically talking about Phil Spencer and Mike Booty. These two people, in as the head of Xbox, I feel like are becoming an issue for me as someone who really wants to get in this like ecosystem, but keeps getting held back for whatever reason. Now, what do they have to do with the developers releasing games feature incomplete? What do they do with third-party developers not being able to develop games for, their system? My issue with them specifically, again, is their wordage. Is the fact that they'll say something like Game Pass allows developers to be creative, think outside the box, take the time that they need to develop a fully polished game. And then we get other developers who like back up that side, right? Like you got Obsidian saying, "Oh, Avowed is only possible," or they decided to like rethink their multiplayer because of the Xbox Game Pass thing. We got Pentiment coming out because of Game Pass, Hi-Fi Rush because of Game Pass. All these things, make sense with the wordage that Phil Spencer is saying. But then you have things like Halo Infinite coming out incomplete and definitely not the way you should have launched Halo. Your prize, your Starship, this is your guy, Halo Master Chief. This is your Mario. This is your God of Wars. This is your freaking brand, or was once your brand, and you let them release the game incomplete without a serious roadmap in place, without them being able to really turn the corner on that game quickly enough. You let them release Redfall, which the developers didn't want to make Redfall. Phil Spencer says, "Oh, we should have stepped in earlier." Okay, well, I'm sure when you went to go buy all these studios, you did some like checks to see what everyone's working on. You talked to everybody because you were able to walk in the building, tell them Redfall PS5 don't make that shit anymore. Just PC, just Xbox Redfall. So you've seen the game, you knew this game was working, you made it your one last thing in your showcase, in your direct or whatever. And then you go out and say, "Oh, we should have been there for more for them." And then we find out the developers didn't even want to make this game. Well, isn't Game Pass, the idea of Game Pass is that these developers have the time to make the games that they want, so they don't come out feature incomplete. That they're able to make the games that they want instead of being forced to make Redfall. Isn't that the whole point of this? Isn't that the narrative that Microsoft, Xbox, Phil Spencer is trying to push right now? Is that Game Pass is better for the developers and better for the consumers. But all I see is consumers who aren't getting the games that they want. All I see is developers releasing games incomplete. Developers not being able to even put their game on the Xbox ecosystem, or being forced to work on games that they don't want to make. So again, none of this is really adding up to the full image of what they're saying. And I get it. It's a project basis. You're managing multiple groups, multiple teams. And I feel like, again, this is starting to become the problem. I feel like Microsoft, Phil Spencer, they lost sight of what Xbox was. Xbox, when the Xbox came out, was innovative. Xbox, when it came out, was a wonderful machine that pushed the boundaries of gaming with online, with multiplayer, with the way that they had the controller set up. Xbox 360, again, set the trend for modern gaming as it once was. And they tried it again with Xbox One, trying to push the whole all digital future way too early. And I get it, they messed up with that. But at least they were trying to push the envelope. They were trying to get a little different and trying to like further gaming, in my opinion. Xbox Game Pass, or at least the way that they're saying it and the way that they're doing it, are two different things. The way they're saying it, yeah, that's innovative as hell. Yeah, that's awesome if you have the funding of Microsoft so that you can kind of hold up this idea that consumers can have a place to play all these games for free with just a subscription purchase. If you have this, subscription service that developers don't have to, feel rushed to put their games out there, and et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, that sounds like a beautiful place, but that's not what we're getting. So what we're getting is completely different, and we're seeing it time and time again with these games going into the system, into the subscription service incomplete, games not being able to get on there. Some developers who don't even want to put their games on Xbox unless they're going to get that Xbox Game Pass bag. So I'm starting to think that this thing is very counterintuitive, because Microsoft, Phil Spencer, Mike Booty haven't made their console a must-be console. If consumers had to get the Xbox, if this was a must-have console, developers would be more incentivized to get their console, to get their game on the console. For example, the fact that Baldur's Gate 3 can see Xbox and say, yeah, we'll wait till whenever that game is ready to get released on Xbox. And in the meantime, play it on PC, play it on PlayStation. Maybe Xbox gets it down the road. These things are mind-boggling. The fact that a game this big can miss out on Xbox and Larian not even blink about it. They're just go for it. Who cares about that game? That, again, mind-boggles me. The fact that things like Forza, this was your last thing that you did right, and you're releasing it legacy incomplete. Overall, do I think that some of the features missing are gonna overall hamper the experience? No, not necessarily. But it's the fact that these games, Forza, this franchise, Turn 10, they've never released a game in this franchise incomplete. Now they're starting to release it incomplete because Microsoft, Xbox, so busy buying Activision, so busy not marketing Starfield, so busy doing these things that aren't related to what Xbox is, and it's a box designed to play games, and it's not doing it. So let's get into, I guess, because I don't want to just say the problems, right? Everyone said the problems. I don't want to do that. I want to give them solutions. I want to say, okay, what can Xbox do to make me more comfortable, to make Xbox fans more comfortable? And I think the thing that they need is they need a foundation, which they've said they've been trying to do. They've spent $69 billion trying to build a foundation with third-party studios that are now first-party studios, with like Bethesda's and the Obsidians and Activision, et cetera, et cetera. And I feel like they never had to do that. I feel like, sure, if you want to be, lazy and not like homegrown your development team, you want to just go out and buy some, fine, whatever. But eventually you need to start to take the time to sit down with your development team, figure out what they're doing, and figure out how you can help them earlier than whatever time that they're doing it right now. Because things like your legacy IPs, Xbox used to be 3 things: Gears of War, Halo, Forza. Halo sucks now. Gears of War is nowhere to be seen. And Forza is releasing incomplete. you have no more identity anymore at this point. Starfield is an unknown quantity, and no one knows what that is. And even then, when Starfield releases and it is amazing, that's gonna get credited towards Bethesda, not Xbox. Because Xbox, I guarantee you, had nothing to do with the success that Starfield is having. No matter what they want to say or tell you, I'm sorry, it's just not true. Because if it was true, if they were able to like help Bethesda with Starfield, why can't they do the same with all the other, properties that they bought into? Why weren't they able to do it with all their homegrown teams like Turn 10, who's been with, Xbox since like Xbox 360 and hasn't, missed the mark until now? Is it that Starfield has taken so much of your attention that you can't focus on anything else? You're gonna let everything else fall by the wayside? Again, why is this happening? And again, I think they need to double down on building their foundation of games, of IPs that become synonymous with the Xbox brand. When you think of Nintendo, they have their Marios, their Zeldas, their Metroids. Nintendo Switch 2 is coming out, and everyone's already anticipating what, legacy IPs we're gonna get and how they're gonna find ways to change it, how they're gonna find ways to bring back that magic. We don't have that with Xbox. We haven't had that with Xbox in a very long time, and I feel like that's where they need to refocus all their energy. Stop buying companies, stop buying, other development teams. Focus in on who you have and make them make games that become synonymous with your brand. If Starfield is going to be your thing, Starfield is going to be your guy, your game, whatever, sure. But, double down on it. Don't let things like Forza not releasing with legacy, features become your identity, become your brand, because that's not marketable. You can't sell that to people. That's something that you have to apologize for. Another big issue that they have is this Xbox Series S. People are talking about it. People notice it. You got to speak about the elephant on the room. The Xbox Series S is not doing you any favors as far as developing games. Or it might be. It depends. Because right now you have the Xbox Series S, the Xbox Series X, and then you have PC, all running Game Pass, all running Xbox games. That's 3 different SKUs, 3 different innards of hardware that a developer has to keep in mind when developing a game for Xbox. So, when a developer has nowhere to focus, you end up with this horrendous development cycle that just makes games longer to release, longer to develop for. It makes games more annoying to make for. And we saw it back on PlayStation 3. When the PlayStation 3 was so difficult to make games for, people just stopped making games for the PS3 and they only stuck to Xbox 360. Now we have the reverse cycle where PlayStation has the PlayStation 5 digital and PlayStation 5 with disc. Same exact console, just one is digital, one is not. That's all you got to make the game for. No PC, no Xbox Series S, whatever. Same thing with the Nintendo Switch. When you make a game for Nintendo Switch, you know what you're putting your game on. The Nintendo Switch. If you can move it to other systems, awesome. But your focus is on that one piece of hardware. With Xbox, you have the Series S, Series X. It has to release on both. 2 different innards. It has to work on both. So you're not going to ever get the full potential of Xbox Series X. Even if they want to do it, they can't do it. Because they have to also release on Xbox Series S, which is a completely different machine. Then you have the PC market, which also has to get the game. And there's a whole bunch more hardware problems there. So there's a lot of different focuses on where you put your game on. So you got to choose which SKU is going to be the SKU. It's going to be the Xbox Series S. We know it. So Xbox Series S has to be your focus. You either have 2 things. You make a better Xbox Series S that could run games closer to parity with the Xbox Series X and PC. Or you just say, F it. Xbox Series X is going to be treated what it is. It's going to be treated as a pro console to the Xbox Series S. And you develop games primarily for the Xbox Series S. You can scale them up a little bit for the Xbox Series X and PC, but games are Xbox Series S. That's our focus. You lower down graphics, you lower down, the scope of your games to match what the Xbox Series S can run smoothly. Because if the Nintendo Switch has proved us anything, it's the fact that games don't have to look the best or run the smoothest, honestly, to sell in the hardware space. It doesn't. Because, again, Nintendo Switch has proved that to be accurate. Nintendo has done that multiple times over again because they have a foundation, because they have a focus of what their games are going to be. Xbox has to decide: are you gonna go with the harder like Xbox Series X way or the Xbox Series S way? But whichever way you gotta do, you gotta choose one, because right now it's too difficult to develop games for your hardware, because again, too many SKUs, too many innards, all that stuff. So focus in on which one you want to go, and whichever way you want to go, you got to get the other machine in more like parity with the other. So Xbox Series S, if that's your take, if that's your direction, you got to make a better one. You got to come out with Xbox Series S 2.0 or whatever. That way, it runs closer to what the Xbox Series X is capable of, and then we can go from there. Or you double down on the Xbox Series S and scale down your games so that it runs better on the Xbox Series S. But ultimately, you got to start releasing these games feature complete, because you got to stick to your word that Game Pass is a beacon for creativity, a beacon for allowing these developers to take their time, and it's supposed to be a stress reliever instead of a stress amplifier. Because right now, people are releasing their games incomplete, and IPs are failing us. Sure, we're gonna get our Pentiments and Hi-Fi Rushes. That's awesome. That's dope. But that doesn't take away the narrative that Halo sucks. There's no Gears of War. Forza is feature incomplete. There's no Baldur's Gate. Redfall is like, what the heck? I can go on and on and on, but I'm done. Those are my thoughts, man. I hate it. I hate that Xbox is in the position right now, and that I'm talking about it currently right now the way it is. I still do have future and hope for them in the future, but only time is going to tell on those. Again, I'm going to end the video here because I'm running really longer than I really wanted to. Let me know down below your guys' thoughts. Like the video, subscribe, all that mumbo jumbo. I'll see you guys on the next video.